In 2011, a film called The End of Eternity came out. It used unprecedented distribution to enlarge visual effects, pushing the imagination of the human intelligence to the peak. Director Neil Borg and lead actor Bradley Cooper combined a dark field of novels that originally explored drugs and potentials to turn it into a visual feast with a rapid rise in popularity. Cooper not only contributed a subversive performance from a down-to-earth writer to the God of Wall Street, but also deeply participated in the creation as an executive producer. The film finally won $1.6 billion worldwide at a small cost, and became a classic masterpiece. The story's protagonist, Eddie, is an inspirational writer. He has a greasy long hair and has nothing to do all day. His only skill is procrastination. He didn't write a single word in his book, and his life was a mess. His girlfriend Lindy finally couldn't stand his mess and broke up with him. Eddie tried to keep saying that he could hand in 90 pages on Friday. But Lindy knew him too well. It was just another empty check that couldn't be paid. She was not only his girlfriend, but also his nanny, bank, and spiritual pillar. With Lindy's departure, Eddie's world completely collapsed. He walked on the street aimlessly, thinking about his failed life. He even foresaw his return to his hometown, and the future he had planned in his father's clinic. At this time, a familiar voice called out to him. It was his ex-uncle, Fanong. Fanong was a hidden gentleman. But after 9 years, he changed his clothes and looked pretty good. They chatted for a while. Fanong sensed Eddie's urgency. Knowing that Eddie was still worried about his writing, Fanong decided to help him that he took out a transparent pill from his pocket. He claimed it was a revolutionary drug that was about to go on the market, codenamed NZT-48. It can make people develop 100% of their brain potential. Eddie was full of doubts at first, thinking it was just some kind of new drug. But Fanong told him it was worth $800. He took it as a gift. With this mysterious pill, Eddie returned to his doghouse-like apartment. When he was about to go upstairs, he was stopped by the landlord's wife to urge her to pay the rent. The landlord's wife's harsh words made him very angry. He suddenly realized that he had just swallowed an unknown pill. If this was a stimulant, under his language attack, he might collapse and jump off a building. The world in front of him seemed to be lit up instantly. Everything was crystal clear. The structure of the stairwell, the landlord's wife's expression, the books he was carrying, all the information flowed into his brain like a tide. He was no longer the cowardly loser, but a wise man who observed everything. He accurately pointed out that the landlord's wife was worried about the law school thesis, and based on a book he had accidentally found at his house years ago, he gave a brilliant suggestion. He told her that the author of the book was illiterate, and that the real judge was actually one of his staff. He could interview the author's son. This was definitely a unique perspective. The landlord's wife was completely convinced by his eloquence and sharpness. They even spent 45 minutes to complete his thesis together. The landlord's wife, who was satisfied, returned to her apartment. Looking at the mess in the house, she felt unbearable for the first time. Under the influence of NZT, she became well organized and energetic. She not only tidied up the mess in a few hours, but also spent the whole night writing. She finished her long-delayed thesis. The next day, she woke up and her back was back. She was back to her normal self. She was depressed and checked her brain. The sense of clarity was gone. But the memory of last night was still there. The thesis on the table proved that everything was not an illusion. She immediately gave the first few pages of the thesis to her editor. The editor's reaction was unbearable from the beginning. She kept rushing the phone for an hour. She was completely shocked by Eddie's talent that was born overnight. Eddie knew that he could not live without NZT. He immediately found the landlord's house. But he found that the landlord was beaten to death and the house was also in a mess. The landlord admitted that NZT was not a drug approved by FDA, but an unknown drug. Despite this, Eddie still desperately wanted more. The landlord saw through his thoughts and let him go downstairs to get dry clothes and breakfast. In exchange for this, Eddie willingly became his errand boy. As long as he could get that magical pill, but when he got his stuff back, he found that the landlord had been murdered. The apartment was in a mess. Eddie realized that the murderer was looking for NZT. He held back his fear and sorrow and called the police. Then, in the wait for the landlord's spy, he began to search for the NZT that the landlord had hidden. That he put on gloves and searched every corner of the room. Finally, in the oven, he found a tin foil bag. It contained a large amount of NZT pills and a stack of thick cash. At this time, the landlord broke in. Eddie was a security guard, but he was also a businessman. He said that the landlord was in the antiques business and cleared the suspicion temporarily. At the Mousy Library, he accidentally received a call from Melissa. She was the landlord's sister. Melissa was very cold to him on the phone and refused to meet him at the funeral. Eddie took the money left by the landlord and started a new life with NZT. He finished the manuscript in 4 days and then began to absorb knowledge crazily. He learned the piano in 3 days and learned the language in 1 day. The complicated math became interesting and he was even able to guide relatives to treat tumor. He was no longer content with writing. He realized that with NZT, he could do much more. He turned his attention to Wall Street. He earned $2,000 on the first day and $7,500 on the second day, but the money was too slow for his ambition. He needed more capital. He contacted a Russian loan shark. Gennady was full of doubts about him at first, but Eddie used his own calculation to convince Gennady to get a $100,000 loan. With this starting capital, Eddie was successful in the stock market. He used NZT's super analysis ability to turn the capital in his account into more than $2 million within a week. His name spread quickly in Wall Street. Various jobs invited him. He even attracted the attention of the financial giant Carl von Leeuwen. The success of the business also reassured Gennady. He explained to Gennady that the reason he changed his mind was that he received a warning. They reconciled and their relationship grew stronger. Eddie's life was like a roller coaster. He took Gennady on a vacation and enjoyed the unprecedented freedom and passion from the cliff. He knew that Wall Street was just a stepping stone. His goal was to become a world-famous figure. However, the side effects of NZT began to show up. One day, after meeting von Leeuwen for the first time, Eddie's memory appeared as an 18-hour video clip. He didn't remember what he did. He only remembered some chaotic scenes, fights, bars, and a close contact with a blonde girl. The next day, he was in a bad state at a key meeting with von Leeuwen. Because he was going to laugh it off, he became the dull ordinary man. A piece of news broadcast on TV shocked him. The blonde girl who was with him last night was found dead in the hotel room. Eddie panicked. He didn't know if he was the murderer. He was worried. He received a call from his ex-wife, Melissa. Melissa told him a shocking fact. She had taken NZT before. At first, it was going to make her career. But she soon realized that this state could not last. So she chose to stop taking the medicine.